When I came to Impact, my back was killing me, couldn't understand why. Even as we went through the exam, there was a lot that we just had to trust the process, right? And that's one of the hardest things to do is to trust a process and then stick with it. Not only is the pain less, but I'm able to get back to some of the things that I really enjoy doing. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the DMC Wellness Wave. I'm your host, Matt Dawkins, and every single week we're sitting down with health-minded business leaders. We're getting to know them a little bit and seeing what they know that can help families get and stay healthy. And today we're back with the title sponsor of the DMC Family Wellness Expo, powered by Impact Chiropractic. Dr. David Turner, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome, dude. Thank you for sitting down with me again.
Dude, it's Friday. You got a workout in this morning?
I did.
Before the sun came up?
I did.
Did you cold plunge?
I did.
How long? At what temperature?
So 45-minute run.
Okay. That was the workout?
The workout was a 45-minute run.
Loud.
So, and I do that with a group of guys that are irreplaceable for me. I always believe that things happen in circles, 100%. And I need accountability. It's F3. This morning it was F3, the Republic, which are the guys over in Conway. There is something about that Conway group that just brings me in and brings me home, because that is home. You know, Conway. I literally, when we get to run that group on Friday morning, we're running up the streets that I used to see if I could ride my bike down at 30 miles an hour. I used to have that speedometer on my BMX bike.
And the wheels wobbling.
Right.
It's about to fall off.
I thought those were the biggest hills in the world, Elm Street and Laurel Street, if you're familiar. And I would see if I could get up to 30 miles an hour on my BMX bike down those hills. So I get to run those. I run those hills, and it just takes me back to my childhood. But so I ran this morning, and then we did when I got home for the month of February. I've challenged myself to do a daily cold plunge because I had gotten out of the habit.
Respect.
And last year I did it every day for the month of February. So I thought, what better challenge than to do that again this year and do every day the month of February. And this morning was 3 minutes at 48 degrees.
48 degrees. So I recently went to mine 0, and I think it was in the low 50s.
Yeah.
And it was 2 minutes at a time.
Yes.
And I couldn't breathe.
Right.
I couldn't regulate my breathing. It was the first time I've ever done a cold plunge. I've jumped in a cold river, cold pond. How do you, you said 4 minutes, 3 minutes?
Well, this was 3. But, you know,
Are you listening to something while you're doing it?
It varies. It really varies. It varies on how much time I have. It varies on the state of mind I'm in, because I do believe that's a kicker. Keep in mind, last night I did sauna and plunge, and I like to have friends over to do that, to have somebody to talk to while we're sitting in the sauna. That's why obviously mine zero's principle too, because they believe that things happen better in circles and groups. And those groups help people to get through the hard stuff.
And I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have been able to do it by myself. 100%.
Right.
I got in that water and I was ready to get out, but there was somebody talking to me, and there were other people struggling with me. And I couldn't have done it without it. So to your point.
Well, as one of our good friends who eventually may even be on this podcast, Nick says, you know, embrace the suck.
Yeah, that's right.
And we embrace it with others a lot easier than we do it by ourselves. But like on a morning like today, part of it's just a head game. You know, I told myself I would do it. I'm gonna honor my word to myself, and I'm gonna go do this.
Cool.
And so I get in.
I'll get back to asking you every time I come in. Cold plunging?
and the benefit, though, is the cool part, because the benefit is working through the suck. It's working through that you said you couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
Regulating your breathing.
Yeah.
I mean,
even the fight to do it, I felt like it really there was adaptation happening in just the effort to saying, I have to survive this difficult moment.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of pride, because there were some people getting out. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not getting out of this. Yeah. I will die in this cold plunge. But I did figure it out. I mean, it took me almost the 2 minutes to figure it out, but it was listening to the person talking and just knowing I'm in here struggling with everybody else. And even though my face looks ridiculous right now, because I can't talk. I mean, figured it out. And then they made us do it again, and I said, I'll never come back. No, it was great.
But that is the cool part, is, you know, it's that when you feel that fight or flight response kicking in, the inability to breathe, the words in your head going, this is stupid, remembering that somebody said, number one, it ain't gonna kill you, and then number two, you can do anything for 2 minutes. And so kind of embracing that. And when, for the listeners out there, if you've never done it, the energy and the rush that you get afterwards there's nothing like it. Yeah. There's really nothing like it.
It was a different day. I did that in the morning, and it was a different day.
I believe altogether. The clouds are puffier, the sky is bluer, the birds sing louder. And that's what it's all about. It channels in that ability to connect to something other than what I'm feeling right now, because that's the way you get out of the suck. You get out of the suck by going, and once you can elongate that out breath, the in breaths get easier, and then all of a sudden you just kind of drop into yourself and you go, man, this is really cold, but that's it. It ain't killing me, man. And then you just do it. You're talking a good game, and you're walking the walk, and I appreciate that. I think that's one of the things that I noticed immediately in you is you show up. You do the work. Obviously, you've been there for my family at Impact Chiropractic. Last time we were on, I shared the story of Giddy, who's continuing to improve. I mean, just every single day, noticing and celebrating the wins, where he is a little bit more aware, and he's a little bit more emotional, like some good, some bad, right? But he's a little bit more emotional. We're almost having conversations with him now as he's struggled with sensory processing issues, and it's just been a rich time. But we know this is a huge part of that. But I also now have a story. So when I came to Impact, my back was killing me. Couldn't understand why. Even as we went through the exam, there was a lot that we just had to trust the process, right? And that's one of the hardest things to do is to trust a process and then stick with it, even though, you might tell someone who's been struggling with something for 10 years, it's not going to fix in 10 days. You got to give it time, right? And so for me, we're 3 months in now, and I was happy to write on my little review yesterday as I was re-examined the second time, that I've noticed I have a noticeable difference in the amount of pain that I felt in my back. Not only is the pain less, but I'm able to get back to some of the things that I really enjoy doing. I told Dr. P out there before she was adjusting me last, I said, I squatted 345 pounds again. I didn't know if I would ever touch a bar on my back again because it was tender and it felt almost debilitating, but I'm trusting the process, and here we are. And so that just got me thinking, you're wearing a shirt today that says healing happens here. You've been in this game for 20 years. We're talking about resilience. You've been through a lot, but undoubtedly the thing that keeps you in it is not only do you have this team that I know that you want them to thrive, but you get to see stuff happen in the space. You have another shirt I've seen that says expect miracles or something, tell me some stories. Let's do storytelling for a couple of minutes. And if you can just recall maybe some specific moments where somebody walked in with some issue, and after having trusted the process, they walked out changed. Share some stories with me. I mean, the biggest story that just jumps out at me is my own. I don't know I can't even remember if we shared that story last time, but, and I'll be the first to admit, doing this 20 years, sometimes we don't see those little miracles. We don't see the big miracles when we're in it. And I think that's part of my story is I didn't even see it when I was in it. And to know that, parents can't see out of their issues. Individuals who've been struggling with chronic pain, debilitating pain, can't see out of those issues. And so I think one of the things that we've been able to do is when I look back on like my story and I saw how chiropractic changed my children, partially at my hands, but not necessarily at my hands, because I didn't know how to effectively and efficiently take care of kids, nor did I trust my abilities at the time. But then to see how quickly that turned around their lives, and then of course our family's life. But we have miracles in all shapes and sizes. We have them with the littles, like you were talking about with Gideon, and how his awareness of self is coming back, and his ability to communicate that is coming back. But we have when it comes to little kiddos, I can't tell you how often a mom comes in with an infant, a newborn, and has that trust to hand over their newborn to this chiropractor who, from all intents and purposes, when they see chiropractic, especially when it's on social media, I mean, that's the high velocity, broosh, right? Yep. Explosion types of adjustments. And they're like, how can I do that to my infant? Right? Well, we don't do that to the infant, number one. That's not how we adjust in pediatrics. But with that, when they hand over a little one who's been struggling so bad, with just comfort, right? If you've never experienced a household with an infant with colic, why will this baby not stop crying? I can't get them to feed. They never seem comfortable. It's just miserable, not only for the baby because the mom feels that and the dad feels that, but it's uncomfortable for everyone in the household. And for them to hand over this baby and us to do our assessments and do a little adjustment and with confidence look at that mom or look at that dad and go, there's a really good chance before they leave the office, but on the ride home, that baby's going to fill that diaper. That's pretty cool.
That is really cool. So, if you've never struggled with a child having issues going to the bathroom, going number 2, man, chiropractic has made a huge difference there too. So,
and then just the other day, I take care of some seniors as well, and being able to connect to an older adult, much like I would try to connect to my parents or my grandparents. There's a talent there as well, and this special connection. And we've got this current patient who she's just returned. She doesn't live here all the time. She lives up north part of the time. But since she's come back, she's been diagnosed with breast cancer. She's gone through chemotherapy. Wow. She's now currently going through radiation. But through this process has been struggling for 6 or 7 months with, debilitating sciatica. Well, when you look at her, with the exception of the beautiful hats that she wears to cover her head, she looks like a beautiful specimen of an athlete. She's close to 70 years old. She's a pickleball instructor.
Let's go.
And she shared with me, number one, we're now, let's call it 18 visits into this regimen of care. And for the first 12 visits, she's looking at me going, David, it's just not, I'm not noticing the changes. But what we're able to do is together sit down and brainstorm. Let's try this option. Let's try this option. I understand you're doing that. And we work through it together as a team. And then lo and behold, in the last week, she's like, something's changing.
Come on.
I don't know what's changing, but something's changing. I have a lot less discomfort. I have a lot less debilitating pain. And we've shared some really cool moments where she's expressed even things like that I would never think that they would share with me. I'm a big personality here in the office, and she kind of likes...
You? No.
Yeah. Well, she likes to kind of get to know me and figure out what makes me tick. And we've compared me to her husband that she lost a couple years ago, and then to her son. And she said to me the other day, she says, I need me a David. She goes, well, actually, she said, don't take this the wrong way. I'm not hitting on you, but I need me a David. And I went, what do you mean? And she goes, well, I'm looking eventually for a man in my life, and I want him to have some of these personality traits. And so got my mind thinking, and I'm like, okay, I know this guy in the neighborhood, right? So I'm already starting to finagle how we can matchmake. So, I guess we get the cool miracles and we get those experiences, but for me, it's really about relationships and being real and about being honest. And I can't tell you how many conversations we get to have on the table that are just as healing as the adjustment, to just let people express what they need to get out.
Yeah.
And I think that helps to heal those scars in the neurology, right?
Man, amazing.
So there's a lot to be said for the adjustment. There's a lot to be said for the major miracles, because we have them every single day. And oftentimes we fail to celebrate them. I really try, but sometimes we miss them. But then it's even in just that creation of relationships and the way that we mentor and the way that we empower and just try to pour into people. And I try to do that every day.
That's amazing. I think that is so much richer than trying to articulate your profession. Is really just talking about examples of what you do. Because, you ever been in a conversation with someone, they're like, what do you do? You're like, I'm a chiropractor. And they're immediately like, a conversation over? Or they're one of the crazy ones that's going to never leave you alone. And now they're attached to you for life, which, is not always a bad thing.
Love our raving fans. Right?
But when you can take, the conversation to, let me give you an example of something that I do. Can I do that? And that opens the door for you to be able to share the miracles, the everyday miracles, which that's so rich. Yeah. So thank you. And I think that's, again, 20 years.
Coming up on 21 next month.
So I couldn't think of a better partner going into the expo on March 23rd. You and I are going to talk a lot more about that. But that's just if anyone is watching, you don't know, we're doing the DMC Family Wellness Expo powered by Impact Chiropractic on March 23rd. We have 40 plus businesses going to be in the house. We've got fun for kids. We're sitting down with a lot of the folks that were, just did a conversation with 212 Meal Prep. You talked about Nick DiStefano, awesome Nick D. Whether that's massage therapists or midwives or functional medicine, or we've got Mountain Man Honey and Goods, and I don't want to share all of them. I'm going to save a couple, but just an unbelievable list of people that are going to be in the house. And what makes this event so unique is there are expos all the time everywhere. Right. But how many expos do you get to go to where you can know and trust that every single vendor business that you talk to has your best interest in mind? Not just that something that's going to make you happy or temporarily satisfied, but truly their mission is to help you get and stay healthy. And so 10,000 square feet, you guys are going to be out front.
Yes.
Impact Chiropractic. Tell us a little bit about what we can expect from you guys out front at the expo.
Just like anytime you see us in the public, I mean, number one, we want to be on. We want to, one of our missions is to educate. So I'm forever educating, allowing people the experience to see the possibilities that chiropractic can share with them. And so one of the things we do at a lot of our events is we do screenings. We have a technology here in the office called the Insight Subluxation Station. And that piece of technology allows us to really take a deep dive into the neurology. So many people understand that chiropractic is about the biomechanics of the spine. They know that we do these high velocity adjustments, or sometimes we do very gentle, what we call tonal adjustments. But chiropractic is one of those arts, because it's a science, a philosophy, and an art. Mm-hmm. Every chiropractor has their own art. So people get different experiences at different chiropractic offices. At our office, we take a very neurocentric approach, which means we want to know when we adjust the spine, how that's going to impact the health of the nervous system. So we use a technology here in the office. We use it for our evaluations. We use it for our follow-up reevaluations and rescans. And we really try to help express to the patient, number one, this is how your nervous system works. This is the role that the spine plays in that. And when we see that there's interference in the spine that's then impacting the neurology, we need to understand the overall global impacts of that that interference, right? And so if we can measure it, and a picture's worth 1,000 words, we can start to express this understanding or give that understanding to our patients to say, here's where you are. You tell me this is your goal, right? You were talking about getting back to your workouts. I'm thinking about that woman we just got done talking about getting back into her pickleball.
Come on.
Right? Yeah. And so I want to be able to say, this is where you're at. Here's our baseline. This is where you tell me your dreams are to go. Not just feeling better, but what is feeling better going to allow you to get back to doing that you haven't been doing? And so we can now start to paint a picture and have a plan to get there. And so we like to highlight the technology out in the public because it really gives us an opportunity to show you that your spine impacts your nervous system. Your nervous system is your world. We experience our life through it. And so if our experience of the world is dulled or dimmed or blunted or interfered in any way, shape, or form, how can we expect our performance in the world, regardless of how we feel, to be healthy?
So let me ask you this, because the event is free. Yes. So families, attendees, anybody can show up to this thing for free.
Right.
But we're encouraging them to come and shop. So if they come up to you and they want to say yes to the screening, what would the cost of that be?
Screening is absolutely free.
So you're not charging for the service?
We are doing, no, we never do. I mean, it's all about educate. And we're here to do that fun. We want to make it fun.
Yeah.
We want to make it educational. We granted, when we do screenings in the public, you're only looking at a small snapshot, right? We have a spine made up of 24 segments. Nobody's going to disrobe out in public to do that. So,
appreciate that.
So we are highlighting just what capabilities the technology has. So that's absolutely free. And then if you're intrigued, if we've piqued your curiosity and you go, man, maybe chiropractic could be right for me or the family, then we do have a special offer that we're going to say, take us up on a reduced cost exam, and come into the office, experience who we are and what we're all about and how we may be able to add value to your life, and then have a special to do that.
Come on. So we're saying, come to the expo, come shop, come learn, come play, come eat. It's not just kid friendly; it's kid first. But we're also doing some really, really special stuff. In fact, talking to awesome Nick D, we actually have a give back at the end of the day, specifically for the businesses that show up, that's available to the public. But we didn't want to just give back to families. We wanted to give back to the folks that are helping us make this thing happen. So we have a really cool opportunity at the end of the day, which we'll talk about more at another time. But we're here with you, and something we're bringing to the DMC Wellness Wave is the hot seat. We'll call it the DMC hot seat. You got to brand everything these days. I got 10 questions, and we have about 3 minutes to do 10 questions. And this is all about getting to know Dr. David Turner. So sit back, relax, enjoy. You're not in the hot seat. Dr. David Turner's in the hot seat. And these questions are in no particular order.
And I've not seen any of them.
But here we go. If you could change one thing about yourself from a physical, emotional, mental standpoint, but about you personally. So it's getting real quick. You could change one thing about yourself. What would it be?
Discipline.
Discipline.
I have a lack of it. And I am, for those of you who know me, man, I am all over the place. I am a self-professed ADD, ADHD kiddo. I had someone literally this morning was telling a story about me going, if you had seen David when he was younger, we all had very high, lots of concern. We knew that we knew it was going to take a village to grow David to the point where he is today. And I think most of them are pretty proud. So all these people that have poured into me have done a good job. But I still have a brain that can go in many different facets very, very fast.
All right, the seat is hot. The seat is hot. So we're jumping right to the next greatest movie of all time.
Oh, goodness. You know, Star Wars #1.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you just eliminated some fans, but I think you may have gained a few fans too. Star Wars *1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is not #1. It was #4.
I'm not ashamed to say I know nothing about Star Wars. My kids love. I almost just called him the gecko, but my kids love Yoda. In particular, my son loves Baby Yoda. So
I do like the Blind Side. That's a pretty.
I'm assuming that's a Star Wars thing. That's how little I know. All right, you got 25 hours in a day. How would you spend the extra hour?
Coming back to discipline, I really want to focus on, my spirituality, meditating. I need some quiet time. I don't get it very often. And so I think I would spend that extra time pouring into just me. How do I get that hour right?
Come on.
I don't know what right is exactly, but how do I get that 1 hour right with myself?
I'll take it. All right. You got $1 million.
Yep.
You can't save it.
Okay.
Can't give it away. How do you spend it? You got 1 day.
Ooh. I'm expanding my practice.
All right.
Yeah, I want to expand the reach of what we're doing. So I think we could buy some property and put a whole new chiropractic clinic on that thing for $1 million.
Come on. Well, next question will be interesting. If you could do anything else, what would you do?
Oh.
Besides being a chiropractor, if you could do something else, what would it be?
Professional underwater photographer.
No way.
Yeah, I was a marine science guy before I was a chiropractic guy. So
okay.
Go back to my roots and hit the coral reefs.
Man.
And maybe even in the big waves of Hawaii, dude. Those guys that film those surfers hitting those big. Yeah, I am never going to be that surfer. I would love to imagine that I would be that surfer. $1 million, I might move out to Oahu.
Say yeah, you go. There you go. Now I'm spending it differently.
Yeah, now
you got a little time before you have $1 million to spend. All right. You could travel anywhere in the world. You may have just answered this question. Fiji.
Yeah, I want to hit some big waves down in the South Pacific.
Check out the water bottling distribution center that they have there for all the delicious water.
Sure. Yes.
All right.
They do have a pretty bottle.
One meal for the rest of your life. What would it be?
Grandma's pot roast.
Okay, legit grandma's. Is that a brand or your actual grandma's?
That's like if I could recreate that, it would be my grandmother's pot roast. I can still smell it on Sunday morning.
I feel you on that.
My grandmother was the kind of grandma that could cook lunch while she was at church. I never understood how much of an art that was.
What does David Turner do at the end of the day to disconnect, to turn it off?
This is a guilty pleasure right now. It changes, but right now, to really turn it off, I play this little game on my phone called Township, and I work on logistics of building crops, making dairy, and then shipping it to people. I mean, it's whatever.
Really?
Yes, that's my guilty pleasure right now.
That's awesome. My kids have me on Tag with Ryan. Is the game? It's like, you remember a Gold Runner? It's like you're looking at the back of a running head, and it's going and collecting coins and jumping over bridges and stuff.
I do like Wordle. I start the day with Wordle. I got a 6 today. It was horrible, but I did get a 1 for the first time 2 days ago.
All right. Best book you ever read?
Think and Grow Rich.
Who wrote that?
That's you just had to do that to me.
It's not Robert Kiyosaki. Kiyosaki,
I need to
is
go
it?
out. It's hold on. Think and Grow Rich was. I'm looking at. Is it? Come on. It's.
So I know exact. I know the book. I haven't read that book yet.
There's. Ask that question again.
I will. On another podcast. First car you ever drove?
Ever drove?
Let's say first car you ever owned.
Okay, I was going to say legally or illegally.
Right. First car you ever owned with a... yeah.
That was go look it up. It's the Dodge 600 SE sedan. 4-door sedan, long seats in the front, long seats in the back. Yeah.
Why don't they make cars like that
with
anymore?
surf racks on the top? Because we had to have the surf racks on the top. That's the only thing that made that one appealing.
All right. Least favorite and most favorite change you've seen in Conway, South Carolina over the last 20 years?
I don't think there is a least favorite. Conway, South Carolina has changed immensely in the last few years specifically. I can't even believe it myself. To walk down Main Street, to walk down Laurel and Elm Street, and that downtown is absolutely phenomenal. We always have said that people from Myrtle don't come across the waterway to Conway and vice versa, Conway to Myrtle. People are now coming to Conway because they have become attractive. They have beautiful restaurants, things to do. It's the coolest place to say I'm from now, being local.
It feels like, even they've set their marketing game up for sure. I don't know who's doing
it's
Be Mine, Marry
and
Me,
all that stuff.
Single Ready to Mingle, all these big marquee style signs. I've loved it, but they crushed Christmas. I feel
They crushed Halloween. They've crushed it all. And I don't, I guess city council and the mayor are doing all these things. But there's nothing, one thing that I'd like to change. 501 coming. I would love to see them put more restrictions on Highway 501 and beautify it for the people who have no idea how beautiful Conway is.
Yeah, that seems like that'll be something that we want to happen, but
it may take a while.
I don't know if they were thinking, we got international, so that'll alleviate some of the tension.
Or 22? No, it's 20.
You got to add 4 more lanes both ways, and I think then you might be all right.
Not only the infrastructure, but
you need
the buildings on either side just need some work.
Like where Carolina Forest Boulevard runs into 5, like almost like a bridge that goes over. So, that wouldn't make sense there, but it would make sense even now. Like East Cox Ferry is backed up, and there's so much. Like when I drop my kids off at Waccamaw and I come here, I just know it's going to be 25 minutes to go 5 miles, but.
We really need to help our legislators figure out how to get us better roads, but that's tough.
We'll talk to them. We'll put in a good word.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's it. That's the hot seat. Thank you for your time today.
Absolutely.
We are going to do this again and probably again and again. But thank you guys for listening. Let's keep the wave of wellness going, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.